Well, let's speak further then about Treasury's consultations around the idea of taxing alcohol more, especially in terms of the quantity of alcohol in each beverage. Bring in Lucky Ntimane, convener of the National Liquor Traders Association. Always good to see you, Lucky. So your customers in the report that we've just played are firmly on your side. They're saying, do not tax alcohol more. What's your position?
Thank you so much for the opportunity. So we acknowledge the National Treasury's intention to review the alcohol taxation framework. But we also support that this should be evidence-based policy that generally seeks to reduce alcohol-related harm. However, the measures that effectively compel manufacturers to reduce the alcohol content of established flagship brands through these punitive tax thresholds should be carefully scrutinized, because we believe this is a shotgun approach. It is akin to saying to someone who's got a headache that they need to cut their head off in order for them to be healed. If I were to give a practical example of what the consequence of this would be for a 750 ml beer, that is 5% ABV, alcohol by volume. Currently, the excise on that is 5.60 rand. If you add VAT, you then have 6.46 rand. So with the new proposed structure, what you're going to get is that the excise rate go up to 6.75 rand, which then means that you pay 7.76 rand if you add VAT. That is a change of 1.80 rand per bottle. We believe that this is not sustainable, because in order for the manufacturers to avoid this punitive measure as proposed by the National Treasury, it means that the alcohol volume that is 5% needs to be dropped to 2.5% so that we're able to run away from the 20%, which is the amount that is being proposed by the National Treasury. We believe that this is not sustainable at all.
But it's a healthier, safer country that drinks less not worth the financial pain?
I think the bigger question is that, is this evidence-based, or is this a knee-jerk reaction that is driven more by emotions than something that could be put on the table as a sustainable model that will ensure that we are able to address the issue of alcohol abuse in our country? We are not running away from taking responsibility to say that alcohol abuse is a problem in the country, but we need to be able to have level-headedness in order to address this specific issue. Increasing the price of alcohol is not a solution in an environment where 25 billion rand worth of beer or cider or whiskey or wine in South Africa can be accounted as fake or illicit alcohol. Just over the weekend, alcohol worth about 25 million was confiscated in Cape Town. So we are not seeing this problem going away. In fact, if the proposal by Treasury was to pass, I think it will be a welcome relief for the illicit market, which is continuing to grow in South Africa. Just to put that into context, if illicit and counterfeit alcohol in South Africa was a company, it will be the second biggest alcohol company.
But if, by your own admission then, that the illicit alcohol trade continues, in fact, to benefit in the millions of rands, in fact, by your own estimates over the years, when you and I have been speaking about that issue, I think from the COVID era in particular, does it really matter to the people who are involved in that sphere whether or not alcohol is taxed more? Because at the end of the day, restaurants, bars, taverns continue to order from the people who aren't selling real booze.
It is an important question that you're asking, Temikile, because if you look in the past 5 years, the illicit and counterfeit alcohol market has grown by 55%. So it means that we have our people that are moving away from buying illegal products into cheaper alternatives, because our people do not know better. They think that, a cheaper something that comes into the establishment is something that will help attain much bigger profits. And we know that this is the product that is able to kill our people. 1 in 5 alcohol products currently sold in South Africa is a fake alcohol. So that represents 20% of alcohol that we find in the country is fake. If we look at our neighbors, Mozambique, 73% of alcohol there is fake or counterfeit alcohol. If you look at the East Africa, the number is sitting at 63%. If we continue with this punitive measure of punishing the alcohol industry as a way of beefing up the coffers of government, we are going to slowly head towards the direction where we have more illicit and counterfeit alcohol in the market than the legal products. That's what we're trying to run away.
And I'm not saying that the proposal by Treasury is the right way to go, Lucky, but let's call a thing a thing. The alcohol industry, as the beneficiaries of the sale of alcohol, legitimate sales in your context, will always advance an argument, support evidence that ultimately does not lead to your profits being cut. So you will always defend the bottom line.
No, but it should not be done at our detriment, because if we look at the increases, if you look at 20%, currently the alcohol industry takes increases that are in line with inflation. Inflation in the past 5 years has been hovering between 4 and 6.5%. So the industry can then plan accordingly to take a hit in line with inflation. But if you are then going to introduce a 20% increase into the bottom line, it then means that the alcohol industry will suffer the consequences of an increase that's equivalent to 5 years, and then they'll have to absorb this in 1 year. We believe that this is not sustainable. If you look at the tobacco space, British American Tobacco had to close their one and only factory in South Africa because of the unsustainable model of having to deal with the counterfeit cigarettes. We do not want to see the same thing happening in the alcohol industry. We support over 1 million jobs, where now the illicit and counterfeit gas are benefiting to the expense of the legal market, which surely, if this is the plan by Treasury to mistreat the legal payers of tax in South Africa, we are then going to have to see factories closing in the alcohol space going forward.
Well, hopefully you and Treasury can grab a drink and hash things out further over this issue. Lucky, thank you very much for your time this afternoon.